Well, now that we put this completely together, we need to pull it apart. We need to show how it goes together so that when someone looks at our drawings, they can come through and produce the working drawings for it. So let's go ahead and create our assembly sheet and a bill of materials for this. This is a kind of a fun process, but it's one that takes a little bit of thinking as we go. Now, remember when we started our assembly that the top plate is the parent and it should not be able to move. We're just going to break that rule all together now as we go in there. So let's go ahead and in our drawing, we're still in the assembly layout and we look at the assembly ribbon. We have an option here that says exploded view. Let's go ahead and select that option and we then get a nice exploded view palette here. And what we're going to do is we're going to move parts based on which coordinate grid we're going to use. So X, Y, or Z is what we're looking at. And what we're going to do is we're going to start, and I'm going to leave the fasteners alone. They're going to stay in position, and everything else I'm going to pull apart. So let's start with the top plate. And when I select the top plate, I have a green, which is my Y, red is my X, and blue is my Z. I'm going to simply grab the green, and I'm going to turn it orange and then pull it straight up. So it's right above each of those fasteners. And I know I just said I was in probably the fasteners, but I think I'm going to go through and adjust that momentarily. So let's take a minute and let's think about which way we want to go. Okay, so we've moved our top plate up, and as we look at our drawing, we need to continue to deconstruct it. I know we talked about leaving these four fasteners alone, but I think we're going to go ahead and move them now. Before I do that, let's move our orientation into an isometric view, and that can be done with the Control 7 key or through the pull down, and that gives us more of a look at how this will be on our final drawing, because we do want to show everything as it aligns. Now in this view it becomes a little tricky to get everything, so a little trick is the next thing I want to move is going to be the fasteners. So I'm going to expand out my floating tree here, and I've got the 4 bolts, and I'm just going to go ahead and use my Control key and select all 4 of those bolts at once. And they all list here my settings, and I'm going to move all 4 of them down exactly the same way and just pull them straight down so there's a little bit of view so we know that they're going to align in that orientation. I'm going to take my support, my axle support here, let's slide that out to the side, and again I'm working to make sure things are not being covered by one another so they can be easily seen. We'll take the bushing next and pull that out and leave a little space there. Let's take the wheels that probably stay in place. Let's take our bushing number 2, and I can select it from that tree again and move it out to the other direction. And I'm going to take and move the axle next, and I might go ahead and, because the axle needs to be seen, let's go and do a little bit of moving here. I'm going to move this support plate over a little bit more, then the bushing over, and then to pull that axle so it's a little more easy to see that alignment of things going together. And that creates my exploded assembly view in the assembled model. So let's go ahead and hit our green check mark, and at this point I need to save my assembly. So I'm going to do a quick file save as. I'm going to save it where it belongs as my wheel assembly. In this case, make sure you include your name on your save so you don't confuse yours with someone else in the class when you submit it. And do follow the instructions your instructor has given you on that. I'm going to save all those parts because we made some changes to a few. And now I'm ready to create a working drawing out of this. So go ahead and create your exploded view and orient it out, and we'll be back in just a moment when you're finished.